time. Purpose of this meeting is to go into executive session to discuss personnel. I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion, sir.
Second. I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This council is in executive session. I will entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
Make a motion.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This council is out of executive session. In executive session, we discussed personnel. That brings us to tonight's regularly scheduled meeting. Just like to remind everyone in attendance with the COVID-19 that's going on, that's why we're spread out. Let you know we do have masks available, sanitizer available. If you feel more comfortable with the mask on, feel free to come up and get you one. With that being said, first item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing. The public hearing is for rezoning of ordinance number 2020-04. Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance number 2020-04, be it ordained by the Mayor and Council of the City of Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof, that the following property owned by Daniel K. Sale and known as MAP 0013A01800A portion Battlefield Parkway is hereby rezoned to a planned development mixed-use PM zone. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak either in opposition of or in favor of this rezoning request?
I'd like to speak in favor of the
Come up.
Can I leave my mask off?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And to the podium, sir?
Please sign your name there and go to the podium and announce your name before speaking. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Gary Hammond, and I am with Landbridge Development, and I am representing the applicant. I live in Dunwoody, and I work in Sandy Springs. I've been in business for 26 years now in Georgia, and I specialize in housing development for the last 20 years. To date, I've developed 32 communities around the southeastern United States, with the vast majority being in Georgia. 23 are in Georgia, and those have totaled 3,148 units, where I've been responsible for originating the concept of the project and closing it through the financing. And in all cases, I am a long-term owner in the property. Because of the financing I use, I'm tied to it for a minimum of 15 years. My projects have consisted of a variety of different types of properties, including new construction, acquisition rehab, adaptive reuse of mills, single-family apartment, memory care, and I've catered those either to families, working families, or seniors, or elderly. I presented to the Planning Commission and City Council last year for a similar project off of Dyer Ridge Road, which we referred to as the Wall Tower property. This year, I've changed sites, changed the minimum age requirement, and the set-asides at the property, which I'll highlight during my presentation. Last year and this year, I received unanimous support from the Planning Commission, and I've returned with a concept that I believe addresses concerns that faced the City Council last year related to age restriction and location of commercial development. As of February 2020, there were 4 age-restricted properties in the county, totaling 188 units. Those are in Lone Mountain 1 and 2, Rossville Senior, and the Village of Chickamauga. Each property was 100% occupied with a waiting list. The number of households on their waiting list, which is 183, were sufficient to fill the project that I'm proposing, which is 72 units. I appreciate your time and your dedication to bettering your community. I am coming to you wishing to be a member of your community. I sincerely respect this process. It's consistent with my housing niche, which is to partner with local communities to build lasting homes and experiences. We're familiar with rezoning land to try to find the best and most suitable location for our community. After last year's application, the former city manager, Jenny Simpkins, challenged us to find a zone site in Oglethorpe. In response, we reviewed all zone sites with either an R5 or PM zoning designation, and there were 29 in total, and provided reasons to Ms. Simpkins why none would work for our specific community and our specific financing. The vast majority were already developed. A couple were located such that they wouldn't achieve our scoring objective to be proximate to retail services, and there were no suitably zoned sites. I'm here before you today with a different location, a property that sits vacant and underutilized that would be an excellent infill location, one where we could take advantage of existing highway infrastructure, utilities, and help spur some retail development along Battlefield Parkway. The property is located along Battlefield Parkway between Battlefield Parkway Church of the Nazarene and the North Georgia EIC. The parcel is 3.5 acres in size in total, with about 50% of it being buildable. The other 50% is in the floodplain. We will dedicate about 10 acres to our housing community outside of the existing floodplain, so it's elevated above, and create 2 retail lots at Battlefield Parkway of about 1.5 acres each. The existing driveway will be used to access all 3 parcels, and the frontage will remain commercial. Future retail development, which we plan on bringing forward to council, will buffer the residential from the rear. We're asking for concept-specific zoning through the PM classification, which means you'll control the concept. We've obviously presented, or will be presenting to you here tonight, and you'll control the time frame. I have provided 5 handouts for your review in my packet. The first handout is a project description, which is my commitment to what the project will become, who the contact persons are, the number of units, the incomes that it will target, the amenities, the type of construction, etc. The second one is the PM site plan, which was as submitted in our original zoning application. The third is a colored exhibit that shows you what phase 1 will look like. The colored area is the area of disturbance for the initial phase 1. The retail lots will be developed in phase 2 or phase 3. There's also a handout in there that shows the retail concept with 2 lots, one with a 10,000 square foot building, the other one with a 2,800 square foot building. Between the 2 parcels, there's about 90 parking spaces, and you can see how they connect into the existing curb cut that is already installed on Battlefield Parkway. Finally, there's a building elevation that's colored to show you what the property will look like. It's 3 buildings. The center building has all the community spaces and the elevator, and the other 2 buildings on each wing are connected with covered walkways. And then floor plans. The floor plans show the units, their sizes, their layouts, each floor and where the spaces are. The community areas as a blow-up to show which spaces we're providing for the benefit of the tenants, including a fitness center, a wellness room, a business center, etc. I'm asking for your support for building an elderly community one that will target the missing middle housing piece that is difficult to develop anywhere, everywhere, without specialized financing. Without bogging you down with statistics, your community, like many others across the country, struggle to meet the needs of their retired, partially retired, soon-to-retire constituents and community folks who are struggling to meet their ability to pay for all the essential services that they need. We can build modern, accessible, maintenance-free apartments for these hardworking individuals that are reaching retirement age with limited savings. They're forced to stay in the workforce or delay retirement. They provide or have provided valuable services, products to our communities. They've educated our kids. They've kept us safe, provided essential government services. They are teachers, first responders, restaurant workers, retail workers, etc. I have a financing program which is exactly for this purpose. The quality of the housing is comparable to market rate independent living, but instead of renting for $1,500 per month per apartment, will rent for $515 to $750 per month. The community will be professionally managed, and residents will be required to have a source of income to pay the rent. There'll be some will still be in the workforce, some will have retirement savings that are used to pay the rent, but regardless, they'll be required to pass rent, criminal credit, landlord reference checks, and be 62 years of age or older. We will offer supportive services geared towards wellness, healthy eating, and financial independence. We'll promote social interaction and planned activities held on-site in one of our several congregation spaces. Depending on the household size, whether it's one or two persons in the household, the incomes will range between $20,000 and $35,000 per year, which is $1,700 to $2,900 per month. 8 units will be market rate with absolutely no restriction whatsoever. Can rent to anybody regardless of income, and we'll be able to charge whatever the market will bear for those units. All units will be handicap accessible to the elevator nature. 4 units will be fully equipped, and 2 will be built for the audio and visually impaired. So many seniors live paycheck by paycheck and are rent overburdened, often paying 50% of their income toward rent or housing costs and utilities. So many seniors are reaching retirement age with insufficient savings to afford market rate retirement plans. Imagine the difference it would make if they were only paying 30% of their income toward rent, which is the goal of the financing program that I use. They would have additional money to spend on essential needs like food, transportation, and health care. In closing, please look at the unique qualities of the property we're asking you to rezone and the community we're asking you to support. By approving our rezoning, you will accomplish goals set forth in your comprehensive plan related to housing diversity, price points for all ages and income, and residential and commercial development along main transportation routes with high-intensity residential at moderate distances from the highway. We'll do all this while maintaining a very high green space of 81% of the total site area. Also, by using the PM zoning designation, you'll maintain control over site plan approval and the time frame to complete the community. We've reviewed all available options for our community, and there are no suitably zoned sites available. Lastly, if you agree to rezone the back acres for the specific community, please allow 24 months to start construction before any additional time is at your discretion. It's not likely we'll hear about our financing until December of 2020, which means that we could very easily be starting construction at best case in July or August of 2021, which is beyond the 12 months that's in your ordinance today. I appreciate your time and am available for any kind of questions.
This is private investors, correct?
Yes.
any of it federally funded?
Not to the extent that you may referring to. However, we may choose a permanent loan that would be a HUD loan. And if it's a HUD loan, then it's considered federally financed. And we would have to comply with certain other criteria like paying Davis-Bacon wages during construction.
But it wouldn't change any of your,
None whatsoever.
Wouldn't change anything?
No, sir.
Mr. Hammond, I've noticed the construction layout of these units with 24 units in each building. People who are 62 and older, there's one elevator, is that correct? One elevator for everyone, second and third floor,
That's correct.
one.
Yes.
And we're hoping and praying that elevator never has any problems and there's never any problems with the units itself. Heaven forbid, with the fire, with anything, tornado, what could happen?
We have experience building elevated senior properties, and the smallest, the closest size is 64 units, and we have not received any negative feedback from management company where an additional elevator would be required. We are right at the cusp of where we would push towards 2 elevators, but we believe that 1 elevator is sufficient for this property. There are other means of egress besides the elevator, but those would be stairs on each end of the buildings.
Now, you said your time frame was 15 years?
There will be a land use restriction on this property for 30 years. In general, a person like me who's sponsoring it would not exit the partnership inside of 15 years. But this property will be built to my representations for 30 years.
So it's the same concept as Ringo, Chickamauga, and Rossville?
Yes, although every year, the qualified allocation plan that we follow through the Department of Community Affairs changes up, but it's the same financing program.
Can you explain one more time why it's going to take you 2 years?
And I'd love to. So we'll hear about our financing in December. We're already 1 month past due. Without the pandemic, we would have submitted our application in May. Historically, DCA has awarded in November before Thanksgiving. This year, they're saying that they're going to award in December of 2020. Once we receive our award, that financing is what will permit us to start full engineering. So in my experience, as soon as we receive our award, we start surveying, civil engineering, permitting, and it'll take a minimum of 6 months before we have a permit in hand, and then our financing is very complex, so it usually takes at least 6 months as well. At best, it would be June, but I'm thinking a July or August 2021 close would be very probable, and I would prefer not to come back because I missed the date by a month or two and risk that I've lost the project entirely. Because it's at your discretion whether or not you would give me any more time.
Well, that's true, and that's standard procedure with every development in this city. And you're asking us to make an exception for you.
I am.
Any other questions?
I see Mr. Quarles there. Mr. Quarles, our planning and zoning have approved everything with the buildings that
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond. It is all planning and, they've all been approved.
Yes, but not on the design. You just questioned about elevators and all that's based on construction height, building height, but all that will have to be designed by his architect and approved through us and the state.
Okay, so before this development begins, it will have to be certified, mandatory, that all safety precautions have been put in play.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
You want to address the rezoning of future for commercial rig?
Yes, sir, the front two parcels, real estate, lady, maybe the lady that's selling the property, yeah, Lisa Brown contacted me, and she had multiple contacts with potential buyers for retail, but they didn't want 13 acres, they wanted the small parcels, and the economic development office from Catoosa County contacted me too, also on that property, urging this to go through because of who they had contacts with. They didn't give me any names, but they said potential retail will buy a smaller parcel of 13 acres.
If we approve this tonight, would we have to wait 2 years to get projects on those front two parcels, or would they become available?
Well, the front two will be a C1, so that'll be parcel and then be.
I'm saying they could submit a project and they could move forward even while he's waiting.
Yes, sir. The PM would have to wait on approval from you guys.
But that's not what this is asking for. This is asking to rezone all of it PM.
It is, yes, sir.
No, sir.
No, but the front two's gonna be C1, that's what you're.
Yeah, the first two parcels will remain C1. The zoning action is just for the approximate 10 acres behind the 3.5 acres.
But it's all been purchased as one.
Yes. Yes, and we would, so we won't close. So in reference to time frame, we have a purchase contract on the property, and we would, as soon as we got our award, we would start marketing the front as commercial. But we wouldn't actually close on the property until we got our full permits in place to start our construction on the back residential community. But there would be nothing to say that we couldn't pre-market the retail and sell those at any time ahead of our housing development.
Are you going to aggressively seek to do that?
Absolutely. That's, we're in the housing business, and it's to our benefit to market the front retail parcels as quickly as possible.
So if it was offered and you could sell the front half prior to you getting your funding, would you do that?
Yes.
Because you're asking us to tie up a pretty valuable piece of commercial real estate for 2 years.
Yes, and I just wanted to be clear that those front parcels are not tied to the time frame of the back
Okay.
community at all.
Anyone else? Mr. Stokes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition of this rezoning ordinance 2020-04? Yes, ma'am. Come up, please, sign in. When you go to the podium, announce your name.
Hi, I am Lisa Brown, and I'm with KW Commercial. And I represent the seller, Dan Sell, in the sale of this property. And I thought it might be good for you. I've been a commercial agent for about 7 years, and I'm a resident of Catoosa County and have been my whole life, except for a short stint in Atlanta. And I just thought from a listing agent perspective, it might be good for me to talk to you guys about who I have marketed the property to and who I've had serious conversations with. So for 2 years, this property has been on the market. I sat down with the city and talked to you guys about what would be your ideal candidate for this property right in the very beginning when we were first listing it. And I know that, you know, the ideal candidate was a kind of a big box retail store. I totally understand why that was what you were looking for in the beginning. But quite honestly, especially in this environment, that has not been who's looking at this property. We have really had a lot of smaller retail, restaurant people really looking on Battlefield Parkway, especially where this property is located. And none of them can take off this big of a piece, you know? That's a big chunk. So the plan that Mr. Hammond has in place is ideal because it breaks out that retail parcel up front in a more manageable way that developers, smaller restaurants, insurance agents in these strip centers, financial guys, that's what they're looking for. But they can't take off a big piece like that. So having been not only a commercial agent, but also a residential agent, and there's a residential side to our team, we see the need for senior housing in Catoosa County, and it's not just in Catoosa County, it's across all the areas that we market to. So I think that we're looking at the highest and best use for this land for our county. And so I'm kind of crossing over between being a real estate agent and being a citizen of the county when we've got this opportunity for a really beautiful development. And then it gives you guys those front parcels that hopefully I can get sold quickly. Even in this market, y'all, we have people actively looking for smaller development sites like that. And I would really hope that you will look favorably on this plan because I do think it's the best option for you guys. And I've seen a lot of options come through in the last 2 years. Some of them you wouldn't want. This one's a great one. So do y'all have any questions of me?
Can you tell us who's looking at it?
Well, no, I cannot, but I will tell you this, I think this is kind of an interesting scenario to kind of drill down on what I'm talking about. I had a restaurant, a franchise, come to me probably 12 months ago, and they were looking for a small retail parcel. They wanted to build a freestanding store. They had the option of doing that or getting an end cap in a strip center. And we tried every way in the world. You talk about door knocking, calling, trying to find them a space, and we could not. And Mr. Sell does not want to divide this property. He's not going to do that. And so we wound up going in an end cap. You're still going to have this great restaurant here, and it's in the city. But we could have had a much bigger restaurant in the front of this parcel for them. And they've already committed, so I can't get them, but there's plenty more out there that we can get. So, but I can't tell you who I'm looking tonight.
I didn't think you could.
Okay.
Had to ask.
Good try.
Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition of this rezoning request? Yes, sir, come up. If you would, sign in. When you get to the podium, announce your name.
My name is Joe Brown, and I'm the senior pastor of the Battlefield Parkway Church of the Nazarene, Battlefield Parkway. Our church has been on the Parkway for 39 years, and I've had the privilege of pastoring it for 32 years, so I'm pretty familiar with the area and with, of course, the mission and the vision that we have as a church there. Mr. Hammonds was very kind enough to stop by and share with us what he was proposing, and he has a great heart, it seems, and he really seems to really care about the people that this project will be serving. And we have no problem with it whatsoever, and so I just wanted to come and let you know that we support what they are seeking to do, and if we have any way that we could ever provide any answers, we're here to serve the community the very best that we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to either speak either in opposition of or in favor of this rezoning ordinance? Mr. Mayor, it appears no one else is present for the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. That concludes the public hearing. At this time, we will call our regularly scheduled council meeting to order. Mr. Childs, if you would, please do the invocation. Ms. Stennett, please lead us in the pledge.
Let us pray. Your Heavenly Father, thank you for the many blessings you give us, even though we don't deserve it. We love you, care for you, and you've really treated us good here. So as we participate in this meeting, help us to make the right decisions for our community and our city. I pray for what's going on in the country today, that you would put your hands on that also. So lead, guide, direct us, and forgive us when we fail you. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes of the previous council meeting. If members of the council have had an opportunity to review the meeting on May 11th, 2020, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda, communications from the mayor. Well, I must say it's good to be back, and I don't know if open for business is quite the right word, and, you know, everybody kind of referring to this thing as the new normal, but at any rate, you know, we're glad to be back to having our meetings to where the public is certainly welcome to attend. We're certainly going to provide all the accessories that we need to provide during this COVID-19 case, so, you know, if you're watching and maybe you want to come to the next one, you know, we, as you can tell by looking at the new seating arrangement, can't see the audience, but, you know, everyone's 6 foot apart. We've got the mask. If anyone wants to wear them, we'll have them available for you. And we're just kind of glad that we're getting back to somewhat normal operating procedure here in the city. As, you know, I think pretty much all the citizens are ready for it. I also want to caution you, if you have any underlying health conditions, folks, if you need to stay home, please stay home. And, you know, if you know that you have an underlying health condition and you do have to get out, then wear your mask and sanitize. Every business I've been in this city that's open has got sanitizing right as you go in the door. None of them has got 100 people in the place. It only needs to be 25 people. So I'd like to say thank you to the businesses in this city. These are trying times for all of us, times that none of us has ever been through. But every business I've been in, and I've tried to go into just as many of them as I possibly could, and I'd like to say thank you to the businesses for their response to this. You know, this country's trying to get open. Unemployment numbers come out yesterday, which was good. So I think everybody's ready to get back to normal, but that don't mean we're just going to ignore everything. You know, if you've got those underlying conditions, and you know if you feel safe wearing a mask, you know, don't feel, I think we've got 1 or 2 in here out of 20 that's got masks on. If you feel like you need to wear it, folks, wear it. You know, don't feel guilty or ashamed or anything else about it. If you feel comfortable wearing it, then please wear it. Other than that, I guess that's about all I've got. You know, I'm just thankful that I think we're on the right side of this thing. I think our governor's done a good job. I think our president's done a good job. We're not out of the woods yet by no means, and even if we get out of the woods, we still got fall to come. So, you know, I think everybody's kind of adopted some new habits during this thing. I think everybody's washing their hands a little bit more than they used to. I think everybody's got hand sanitizer and used to never buy it. But don't quit doing it, folks. You know, we're going to learn some good lessons from this that I think will be beneficial from us, you know, 5 and 10 years from now. So, you know, still practice your social distancing and, you know, let's gradually get back to normal. That's all that I've got. And our next item is zoning matters. We have none. Our next item is ordinances. This is the third and final reading for ordinance number 2020-04. Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance number 2020-04, rezoning, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the city of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, and is hereby ordained by authority thereof. Section 1, that the following property owned by Daniel K. Sale and known as MAP 0013A01800A portion, Battlefield Parkway, is hereby rezoned to a planned development mixed-use PM zoning. Said property is particularly described in Exhibit A attached to this ordinance. Section 2, if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance, unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council. First reading, 10th day of February 2020. Second reading, 24th day of February 2020. Third and final reading, this 8th day of June 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Stinney?
Yes.
Mr. Crawford?
Yes.
Ms. James?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Childs?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 2 under ordinances. First reading of ordinance number 2020-05. Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance to amend the 2020 fiscal year budget, ordinance number 2019-33 for the city of Port Oglethorpe, whereas the duly elected governing authority of the city of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, is authorized under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, the official code of Georgia annotated 3635-3, and the Charter of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, to adopt reasonable ordinances to protect and improve the public health, safety, welfare, and aesthetics of the citizens of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, and whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia is vested in the City Council composed of a mayor and 5 council members, and whereas all ordinances and parts of ordinance in conflict herewith are hereby repealed, whereas that if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Whereas it is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the city of Port Oglethorpe that the following shall constitute the amended 2020 fiscal year budget. This ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor. This is the first reading. Amended budget is attached to the ordinance and available in the city clerk's office.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Item number 3 under ordinances. First reading of ordinance number 2020-06. Mr. Stokes.
Ordinance number 2020-06, amendment to Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2.37, regular agenda, and Section 2.38, order of business. It is hereby ordained by the governing authority of the City of Port Oglethorpe and an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances, City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Section 2.37, regular agenda, and Section 2.38, order of business, to provide for certain revisions of the meeting agenda preparation and consideration by council and amendments thereto, to provide for the provisions therein as authorized by state law, to provide for modification, to provide for severability, to repeal conflicting ordinances or parts thereof, to provide for an adoption effective date, and for all other purposes allowed by law. Whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia is authorized under Article 9, Section 2, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, the official code of Georgia annotated 36-353, and the Charter of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, to adopt reasonable ordinances to protect and improve the public health, safety, welfare, and aesthetics of the citizens of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia. And whereas the duly elected governing authority of the City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia is vested in the City Council composed of a mayor and 5 council members, and whereas the Code of Ordinances, City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Section 2.38, Order of Business is hereby stricken in its entirety, and the section is hereby reserved for future use. And whereas the Code of Ordinances, City of Port Oglethorpe, Georgia, Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Section 2.37, Regular Agenda is hereby amended as follows. Section 1, Regular Agenda. Items to be placed on the city agenda for the regular meeting shall be submitted to the clerk by 4:30 on Thursday before the meeting. No formal action shall be taken on any matter by the city council unless the matter appears on the agenda. By majority vote of the city council, by the council members present, the council may vote to discuss any matter not appearing on the agenda, but no official action shall be taken on such matter until a subsequent meeting. Section 2.38, Order of Business. The order of business at all regular meetings of the City Council shall be as follows. Call to order, invocation, reading of the minutes of the previous council, communication of the mayor, zoning matters, ordinance, resolution, unfinished business, reading of the city clerk of communications, new business, city manager's report, city council comments and business, city petitions and requests, executive session and adjournment. New. Section 2.37. The city manager, with the advice of the mayor and council members, shall prepare a preliminary agenda for all special or regular meetings of the Port Oglethorpe City Council, which shall be subject to revision, deletion, change in order of business, or addition by a majority vote of the council at that meeting. B, members of the public may request a particular subject to be placed on the meeting agenda. Public requests shall be in writing, addressed, and delivered to the city manager no later than 10 days prior to the meeting at which the matter is requested to be considered. Paragraph C, a copy of the preliminary agenda shall be available upon request to any person, shall be posted at the meeting site as far in advance as reasonably possible, and at a minimum sometime the 2 weeks immediately prior to the meeting. D, a summary of the agenda items discussed and a list of the members present at the meeting shall be available to the public for inspection 2 business days from adjournment of the meeting. OCGA Section 50.1401 is the reference. Section 2.38, stricken in its entirety and reserved for future use. Section 2, if any part of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect or impair other parts of this ordinance unless it clearly appears that such other parts are wholly and necessarily dependent upon the part held to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect from and after its adoption by the mayor and council.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Next item on the agenda is resolutions. We have none. Next item on the agenda, unfinished business. We have none. Next item on the agenda, reading of the city clerk of any communications. We have none. Next item on the agenda is new business. Item number 1 under new business, proposed approval to purchase trailer. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Coming before you tonight to request to approve a 12,000-pound hydraulic trailer to be purchased. This will be used by the Public Works and Public Utility Departments. And back in April, during the tornado, we purchased a new skid steer loader, which it weighs about at 10,000 pounds itself. And then also we're in need of this trailer for hauling our asphalt roller, which is double steel drums. And when you put metal on metal, it's a major safety issue, plus with the weight of it on trailers that come up high. This trailer will let down to approximately 2 inches to the ground. So basically you'll be pulling right on it, and then it'll lift back up for transit. And we received 3 quotes for this trailer. The low quote was from Rockline Products in the amount of $16,700, and we recommend this purchase from them. It would come from the splosh from line item 112704 for $16,700.
Thank you, Mr. Long. I have a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 2 under new business. Proposed approval to purchase dump bed. Mr. Long.
Yes, this is a proposal that to put a dump bed on a chassis that we have currently at the shop. It used to be used for one of the jet trucks that had the portable unit. It was took out of service, but the truck is in good shape. They bought a new chassis, the sewer department, and the truck has been sitting there. We went through the truck, and this is an adequate truck to pull this trailer with the load. It's a F-450, and we looked at buying a dump bed. This will enable us, both departments, to use it to doing yard work. It's small enough to get in places and haul small loads of dirt, gravel, or even asphalt, whatever we needed, and then also pull this trailer on site. We've got fold-down sides on it to where the attachments for the new skid steer, we can set them on, strap on, and have more than one piece of attachments out on the job site to do it. And we got 2 quotes on this one. The Blue Ridge Manufacturing was the low quote for $9,918, and staff recommends this purchase, and it will also be on the splice.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Have a motion to approve. I have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 3, under new business, propose approval of work detail agreement. I am going to ask the council to table this item. We have had some questions concerning this. Mr. Helton and Ms. Pavilion and I have been discussing it, and we have not got the answers yet. So I'm going to ask for a motion to table this item until next meeting.
Motion to table, sir.
Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 for proposed approval of work detail agreement is tabled until the next meeting. Item number 4 under new business, proposed approval of property and casualty insurance. Ms. Treville.
Okay, this is to request the approval of renewing the city's property and casualty insurance for the period 6/30/20 to 6/30/21. Grip Insurance Services, who is our current agent, has gone out to 8 different insurance companies on the city's behalf, and we received from our current carrier, State National, the lowest bid of $174,500, which is a lot lower than last year, but that's mainly due to the fire department, not having the fire department anymore. And we have Kara Singland here and Clay Chambliss here, who are our agents. If you have any questions on coverages or anything concerning the tornado coverages and whatever, if you have any questions, they can answer those for you.
All right. Mr. Helton, we had quite a few questions.
Yes, sir.
If you want to just go ahead and take the lead here, let's see if we can get a few answers.
Sure, and if you all like to come to the podium just to be prepared, just in case. We asked them, frankly, about fence coverages, things along those lines, and I believe you all verified that in the past with previous carriers, the city had certain coverages on things like fences and things, but through the years, there's been some changes in coverage, and I believe we also talked about possible deductive changes. What are deductibles going to look like? Could you help elaborate on some of those?
Sure. So every insurance company, they have different extension endorsements on their property. And if there's an exposure that we feel like, and we talk about these every year when we go through the renewal process. So if there are things that need to be scheduled, we talk about those in what's called an executive summary. So we outline those as well as in the details of the coverages themselves. Like I said, every carrier, whether it's Travelers, State National, they put what we call bells and whistles or extension endorsements on there. Some of them have things that change from year to year. They all change from year to year if you change carriers. But if there's something that needs to be scheduled, we have the ability to do that. So what was covered in the past may have been under extension endorsement specifically. And we can schedule any fences that need to be covered by wind and hail, things of that nature, we can do that.
And are you noticing any trends in the insurance industry?
Absolutely.
We talked about deductibles and what are things looking like coming down the road. What are things the city needs to be looking at? Instead of just renewing, what are things we need to be keeping in mind for our future?
Well, we're in a period of time with the insurance market, the property and casualty market, where we've seen tremendous increases in terms of property insurance. If you've got larger property schedules, which is what you have, there's like 5 different reinsurers that control the property and casualty insurance market, and they've taken significant hits from the windstorms, wildfires, things of that nature. You may know them as Berkshire Hathaway, Gen Re, people like that, Swiss Re. They all participate in different aspects of every insurance product that a commercial business buys. So whether it's Travelers or State National, they're all buying reinsurance from those particular carriers. So across the board, starting in the fourth quarter of last year, we've seen non-catastrophic areas, which we're a non-catastrophic area at the moment. If we continue to have these windstorms and tornadoes coming through, we could be deemed a catastrophic area, anywhere from 12 to 40% increases across the board. And that's due to the reinsurance product. And deductibles and retentions are going higher. The carriers are wanting more deductible, really for more, and more money at the same time. Fortunately, you're not experiencing that at the moment.
Looking back on our previous tornado incident, would there be something that you would advise us to do different? We dialogued at our meeting, but they weren't a part of that meeting. Is there something you would advise our city based upon the cost of certain coverages? We're saving some money because of our fire department, but if we could increase the coverage here or there, utilize any of this savings, what steps would you advise us as a city to stay where we're at, change certain things? What would you think?
Well, I think we've looked at different options. If we did our executive summary, and I can pull those up now if you'd like me to comment on those. You got those too?
Yes, on the property portion of your premium, just we evaluated with the underwriters what the savings would be if we went to, for example, a $10,000 property deductible. And it would only save the city of Fort Oglethorpe for approximately $2,500 annually to go from, and your deductible, I believe, was, it is $3,500 annually. So if you went from a $3,500 deductible to a $10,000 deductible, the savings would be about $2,500 a year. So it's not
Is that on the same policy or is that a better policy?
It's the same policy, and just so you know, last year, on the property insurance, the carrier paid $207,000 out in claims. Plus, they've got an estimated $7,500 in reserve, that's property damage. So we're looking at a total payout on the property from last year of $215,000. And their renewal terms for the property itself were $49,521.
very positive, no increase at all in the property.
Well, I think where some of our surprises came in was like some of the fencing and some of the other things that, of course, I'm not saying it's y'all's fault, it was probably our fault. Thinking we had coverage and didn't have coverage.
There is coverage built in under the outdoor property endorsement for all things except wind and hail. But it's a limited, it's a bell and whistle, I guess you would say, of a policy in the property form. And all carriers have different bells and whistles, as your own homeowners policies would, or your own, if you're business owners, that's included. So if it's something that's very important to you, then we would be glad to schedule those items. Additional items could be the lighting at your ball fields. If wind or hail takes those, they're not going to be a covered item unless you schedule them. But again,
Well, I think that's what we're after. I think we want our bells and whistles to be a little bit louder, even if it costs a little more money.
I like that.
But we're glad to make any adjustments to the policy, scheduling, things that are important to you guys are important to us. So, and wind and hail has become something that over the trend of the last 2 or 3 years have become more and more just, we're seeing a lot more adjustments in the industry.
They're going to a percentage deductible as opposed to a dollar amount, and you're probably seeing some of that on your homeowners. So as opposed to just a flat dollar amount, you're going to have a percentage of the value. You don't have that now, but we're seeing that in some cases. So that's going to be a lot more exposure.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty much agreement by everybody. I mean, we would rather have a higher deductible and more coverage.
Right. But one of the things, I don't know if you all have seen this or not, but by every location, we specifically outline what's covered and what's, I'm not saying what's not covered, but we list the items that are covered. buildings, the business personal property. But if you don't know that by definition, business personal property doesn't include fences, that's the kind of thing that we gotta have that conversation about.
So if this is considered and approved by the council tonight, then we could add an additional coverage for these items through the year, even with this approval that we have on tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Make amendments to your policy at any time.
Is it cheaper if you rewrite it to start with? Or is there any difference if you do the amendments?
No, it wouldn't be.
Okay.
They would just amend that.
And you can amend the deductible also,
You can't.
as well as that?
You can't.
Anybody got any questions while we've got the experts up there?
I paid about 12 grand on trees that wouldn't cover.
Any more questions, Mr. Trevor?
The August cyber liability renewal?
It will be coming up soon. It is not finished going through the process of the renewal, which is normal, because August, it was purchased 3 or 4 years back. I have to look at the date. And it was purchased after renewal time, so that renewal date stays the same. And it is not, y'all have completed your paperwork, but Travelers is still working on the renewal. I followed up on it again today, but they asked for another few weeks. They're still working on their June renewal, so.
Thank you, Karen.
If anybody would like any comments on that, the city of Atlanta had a big breach about 2 years ago, and it was multi-million-dollar damages. So, cyber liability is a huge issue right now. The information that you're responsible for, be it your employees or your citizens, and if that information gets compromised, then by law you have to notify of the breach, and that in itself is very expensive. And the subsequent damages associated with that, the credit cards that get run up in people's names, just the credit reporting and things of that nature. So that's becoming more and more of a critical issue.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion that we haven't already covered? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Item number 5 under new business, proposed approval of MOU between City of Fort Oglethorpe and 6th Cavalry Museum to submit a tourism product development grant application to the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Mr. Earl.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I asked Ms. McKeever to come up and we'll do this one jointly, but I'll get it started. We have a MOU that we've developed as asking you to approve application for a tourism product development grant. The Georgia Department of Economic Development is now accepting applications for this year. The tourism product development team came in May of 2018 and looked at various sites. In this case, the 6th Cavalry Museum project that they're proposing that they would like to get a grant for and then place on the side of their building fits within the criteria that this grant program supports. They're asking for a grant of $10,000. They would like to ask that you support that by agreeing to, in this MOU, to serve as fiscal agent, where they would end up getting the funds, but the government serves as that partner. And we also took time and consulted our new Historic Preservation Commission on this detail because it is in your historic district. And they've got us a letter of support where they've met and agreed that it fits everything in the criteria, fits the history. It is a strong project from everything Ms. McKeever's been sharing with me that the state would support. It provides community education. It's doing all the things that seem as though it's pointing right towards a grant. Ms. McKeever could probably explain it much better than I, so.
Thank you. Well, first to tell you, the museum is open. We reopen on May 19th, and we have the hand sanitizer and go and clean after folks come in. And we have a lot of folks that are coming through that are wearing masks, so we're very happy that we're back in business, as is everybody else. As for the tourism product development grant, one of the parts of the assessment that we got from the state was they went to each one of the attractions and they gave recommendations. And for the 6th Cavalry Museum, one of their recommendations was to move the 97,200-pound tank to the front yard. And that is not feasible. But just under there, the recommendation was to do a historic mural on the building. That is doable. And so it would be on the front of the building. We would take all the shrubs out. We would, it would be 37 feet long by 10 foot tall. The same artist, Wes Harden, who did Gilbert Stevenson Park, would be the artist that we would select for this as well. He is able to incorporate the front windows as part of the mural, so nothing would have to be altered in the building. So your permission to have that beautiful mural put on the front of the building, and also for you to add through the MOU, a certified local government has to be our partner, and of course that would be our city. We're very excited to continue telling the history of the Army Post and how Fort Oglethorpe got to be the city that it is today. Another benefit of the Tourism Product Development Grant is that they award 5 extra points. They have 5 categories that you'll receive 5 extra scoring points if you address any of those. And 2 of those 5 will be addressed in this mural, which gives us 10 more points. And at the end of the day, they look at their money, who's got the highest score, you get funded, oh sorry, your score wasn't high enough, maybe next time. And so the civil rights and African American history both qualify this mural for us to receive 10 extra points. And that would greatly enhance our chances of receiving the grant. The museum will have the cash match of 40%, and we also can do 60% of the cash match in goods and services and in kind. And we always do a great job getting all that in kind that we can. The other thing for this, if we are not awarded this grant, we have all the paperwork, we have all the information. The museum will be looking at other grants to go after to fund this. And so this becomes a project when we find grant funding for it. And this, they awarded, that's how we got Gilbert Stevenson done. And we'd like to go back to them and remind them how good Gilbert Stevenson looks and ask for them to fund us this year.
Thank you, Chris. I have a motion to approve.
Motion, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 6, under new business, proposed approval of surplus patrol vehicle and transfer to Ringo Police Department. Mr. Silver.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. The Chief of Police would like to recommend the removal from the police fleet one surplus vehicle, Crown Victoria 2010, which has 107,000 miles on that vehicle. This vehicle will be transferred to the Ringo Police Department. The police department is in the process of updating their fleet, as you well know, and removing older vehicles from that fleet. This vehicle, the last time I came before you, we recommended and got approved to surplus 4 other vehicles. This was the best of the ones that we needed to surplus. We approached the city of Ringo, and they've agreed to utilize this vehicle for the rest of its useful life. And we can transfer this between governments without any issues.
Thank you, Mr. Silver. Just a little footnote, Mr. Hefner and I talked about this, and this vehicle has probably actually got another 100,000 left in it. These Crown Vics are pretty tough. Y'all know we're kind of getting away from them, and certainly the city of Ringo needed, they needed it. We put it on gov deals. It's probably not going to bring $1,500, $1,600. So Mr. Hefner and I felt like the thing to do was just help our neighboring city out and let them have the vehicle. I just hope y'all would consider that in your vote. And I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Second, sir.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 7, under new business, Proposed approval to purchase 2 police patrol vehicles. Mr. Sewell.
We'd like to recommend that the council approve purchase of 2 Ford sports utility vehicles in the amount of $64,762.48. We did put out for bid and received 1 bid from Prater Ford. They do expect to deliver this vehicle as soon as they go back into production, which they've just started to do. You've already, it'll be replacing, these will be replacing the 2 vehicles that we've already approved for surplus previously, as also the one we did tonight.
Have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Have a second. Any discussion? Mr. Sewell, I just want to make sure these are going to be patrol vehicles and not officer vehicles. They will be on the streets as patrol vehicles.
These will be marked patrol vehicles that will be on the street. Our current projections will use these for supervisor vehicles, the Ford Explorers that currently we have on the road are supervisor vehicles. We'll transfer some of those newer Explorers down to the lower level supervisions, sergeants and patrol officers themselves. We've got a couple of guys that are fairly large in the department. One of our officers is 6'10", has trouble getting out of cars. It'll help us to accompany, take care of those folks as well.
Okay.
And this is in the vehicle purchase budget.
It is.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 8, under new business, proposed approval to purchase 2 sets of emergency vehicle lighting and equipment. Mr. Sewell.
Police Department would recommend purchase approval of 2 sets of emergency lights from West Chatham Warning Devices. The total of that is $12,423.64. These were put out for bid. We did receive multiple bids: West Chatham, Hills Emergency Lighting Services, ProLogic. Of the 3 companies, West Chatham did have the lowest price, and they've been the most responsive, both with this as well as previous projects that they've done for us. This would be the lighting for the 2 previous vehicles you've just approved.
Thank you, Mr. Sewell. I have a motion to approve.
Motion, sir.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Next item on the agenda, City Manager's Report. Mr. Helton.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council, a few updates for you. We've been working diligently. Our Recreation Department has been specifically focusing on trying to get our swimming pool back open for the public. Mr. Simpson briefed me this morning that he's had some items that he's had to repair that he didn't anticipate at first. He's shooting for a date of June 26th, and he wants folks to know that that's a date that he hopes to have that pool back open, and he wants the citizens and want the council to be aware that he's having to put certain steps in place so when they come back to that pool, they'll understand it wasn't necessarily as it was before. There's going to have to be certain amounts of persons within the pool facility. There's going to have to be areas blocked off for certain size groups. There will be, he's looking at a block scheduling system so that since you have to control the amount of people that can be within the facility, some folks may just go and plan on staying all day. And if those certain people stayed all day, then no one else would get to use that facility because of numbers they're having to maintain. So he's looking at timing, people getting 2 or 3 hour blocks at a time as families. And those kind of things folks need to understand. They'll have sanitation things put in place. They also want to sell the yearly passes to residents, and those residents would be able to streamline any lines. Since they have a yearly pass, they've proven they're a resident, they'd be able to go straight in through a separate opening, as opposed to persons who might not have that pass and may not have already shown they're a city resident. I wanted to also let you know that the citizens be aware that we have this last company in town that's cleaning up our creeks from the tornado. Cleaning up some stumps, getting those things out of the ground. They'll be fixing those stumps so they're not fall hazards in the future. So you're still going to see some work along the creek walk, parks. Use caution if you're in that area enjoying the parks. Just be mindful of those that work is occurring. You may notice on our website this posting for a water cutoff. This actually starts taking place tonight. So folks that are in the area, that are in this area between Hill Street and Stewart Road on Battlefield Parkway, and then also on Fant Drive, you'll want to know that as of 11 o'clock tonight, your water's going to be cut temporarily. They're having to fix some water lines, upgrade them, and there's due to some wrecks and things that have hit fire hydrants, they're having to shut them off and replace them. This will include Battlewood Apartments. This is also going to include some businesses that remain open at 11 o'clock or after. Our staff has taken effort and contacted each one of those during the day. We've also made sure that it does not affect Pruitt Healthcare and any others that are in that area. So that needs to be made known to the folks. I've provided each one of you with a list that's current as of about a week ago involving a tornado and COVID-19 expenditure updates. This list also have items that are on there from the last list I've given you. But there's still things that are pending that are not on this list yet. So, but it is running, and each meeting we have, I'll be providing you another current one. That's all I have for this report.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. Next item on the agenda is City Council comments. Mr. Childs.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Childs. Mr. Crawford.
I'd just like to wish my sister a happy birthday tomorrow and my dad a happy birthday Friday.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I just wanted to say a special thank you to our police officers. Mr. Sill, Chief Eldon, thank you for what you guys do, guys and gals. Y'all are incredible. Just want to say thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Ms. James.
Welcome back, as the mayor said. It's great to be back in this room again and enjoy that. And I'll go what Derek said too, not just our police officers, but all our employees that have helped get through this pandemic, the virus situation. It's not been easy, but they've manipulated it well and made sure that everything's taken care of. The safety of the employees and the citizens have come first. And it's not easy when you've got restrictions, but they've done a great job. And if you guys would share that with them, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. James. Ms. Stinney.
Yes, sir. As we know, if you watch the news, times are very difficult right now. And we are very blessed in Fort Oglethorpe that the YMCA will be distributing food every Wednesday. It starts at 9:30 till 11:30 at Fort Oglethorpe United Methodist Church. Also, St. Gerard Catholic Church will be distributing food on Monday evenings beginning at 6 o'clock. St. Gerard is located on Lafayette Road. Well Care of Georgia is hoping to help those who are going off to college. Please contact them. And did they give me a number? Yes. 1-866-231-1821. They will help your student who is going to go off to college during these difficult times. Just want to close with echoing thanks to our police officers and employees, but especially our police officers, and to offer words of encouragement. Paul wrote to the Corinthians to help them establish peace, and he said, "The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all." Remember kindness. God bless. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Stinney. Next item on the agenda is citizens' petitions and requests. We do not have any tonight. Next item on the agenda is executive session. We do not have anything for executive session tonight. The last item on the agenda is adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.